All right, a little real talk here. We only partner with companies that genuinely solve problems for indie agency news members. No fluff, just proven expertise. So here's a reality check for indie agencies. You got a campaign concept that needs celebrity talent, an athlete partnership, influencer access, or maybe the perfect music track, but you're stuck guessing who's available and what it'll cost. That's where our exclusive category partner, Abalone Partners, comes in. With over 20 years of entertainment industry relationships, they help agencies like yours stop winging it and start winning. They'll tell you what's realistic before you pitch. Get your calls returned by people who usually ghost and negotiate deals weeks faster than you do alone. Ready to stop guessing? Visit abalonepartners.com. Hey everybody, thank you so much for supporting Indie Agency News. The Brief, build a global home for independent agencies. The mission, serve independent agencies and the brilliant people behind them. The goal is more visibility for indies and more choice for marketers. And what we love is hearing our members thinking. So we're doing a little indie thinking today. I want to start with a data point for you. So Typeface has a signal report. That's what it's called. So eMarketer covered this one. You know, shout out to my former colleague and friend, Minda Smiley over at eMarketer. Just a little shout out. But here in this report, found 83% of marketing leaders would cut agency spending tomorrow if they could fully automate creation. Oof. Yeah, it's a number that gets passed around. Let's call it like a horror movie in the industry. But the more interesting question about this isn't whether creation gets automated. It's what agencies are actually, for once, it's what agencies are actually doing with this and understanding all of this. So Christian Jacobson is partner at The Many. So The Many, 3-time Ad Age Small Agency of the Year, and the writer behind The Exchange. His book, Wired to Participate, hit shelves in October. And here's the thesis. When the barrier to building drops to zero, the agencies that win aren't the ones making more. They're the ones helping people participate. So let's get into it. CJ, thanks so much for joining us. Now, go back. The book. Wait, what's the book that you've written? What you're a writer. What did you write?
You have it. It's called Wired to Participate.
That's what I thought.
It's been a journey for me, and yes, it's coming out in October.
And you wrote The Exchange too, right? You wrote both.
I do a weekly Substack, the Participation Exchange.
Got it.
This is basically just to, at higher level, the agency's kind of thesis and how we see the world, and it connects to the work that's always made us kind of most noted, where we involve people. So we've really focused on that space of participation. We're helping to define it. It's really all the things that are not straight persuasion and interruption, and how we bring people in. So I started with the book, and I covered the changes of media and how this connects to how our genetic composition as humans and how we started in tribes, and we're actually built to participate. Yeah.
And we're also not built for some of this stuff. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. Let's start with this.
Correct.
The barrier to building is zero, and no code, no developer, just an idea and the words to describe it. So let's unpack that for a second. What has specifically changed? I mean, clearly there's some obvious things, and why does it matter to indie agencies now?
Well, the reality is, like, we're in the creative business, and there's been there's a lot of fear out there of what all the new tools mean, but you can actually reverse that and say, there's never been a time that we can get closer to our ideas, and that we can experiment, that we can explore, we can have some fun. And I know a lot of this seems daunting. And, this conversation was triggered by a piece that I put out in The Exchange, where I was just encouraging people to build dumb things that you responded to. And
we're going to talk about that in a second. So
So we can look at this and say, oh, it's the end, or we can actually say, this is just a whole new way that we can all get closer to our ideas, everybody in the company, and we're going to create in new ways. And that's our jobs, from my perspective, as agencies. Yes, we're always doing the things that the clients don't have the time to do. or might not want to do or are not capable of doing. But
Mhm.
my belief has always been the agencies need to push the clients, need to show the clients potential that they didn't know that they might have, or opportunity they didn't know that they might have. Sometimes that gets quite uncomfortable, but
Right.
I believe that's our job, because we are free from the spreadsheets that they're dealing with, or
Right.
the quarterly numbers, or whatever it might be. So if we really want to be great partners, it's not just to be an extension of them, but it's to help them potentially see things that they haven't seen before and experiment.
Mhm.
And that's what's fun about our job.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit more about experimentation because it's a double-edged sword.
Mhm.
But I do love listen, like every day, all day, I'm doing the same thing. But I think we need to define what experimentation means, because I think that there there is this thing of experimenting for experimentation's sake, but also ensuring that the experimentation, even if it's not leading to a thing, it's leading to something, whether that's a
Mhm.
learning or something like that. And we'll talk about the dumb things in a second. But I do
Mhm.
want to go back to the data. So typeface this signal report. And listen, for every bit of data that's out there, there's going to be a counter to it. Let's just be realistic about that, right?
Mhm.
And we don't really know fully the subset specifics, some things like that. So we don't want to be we don't want to be alarmist, yet 83% of marketing leaders cutting agency spend if they could automate. Big mistake, by the way, if you do that. And in the same survey, 60% of US senior marketers have already spent less on agencies in 2025 because of AI. Also a bad idea. So as people building at exactly that intersection, how do you read those numbers? Threat, opportunity? Is this the
Uh,
wrong? Are we asking the wrong questions?
no, I think this is we're in a we're in a gray zone, and it's kind of
Yeah.
murky. And my response to this would be, uh, it's very simple, and we've done this for as long as we can. Things that we know very well get optimized. They either
Hmm.
get disrupted or they get optimized. We've seen it with production. We've seen it while clients bring agencies in house. The standard approach to traditional advertising that's more persuasive based, that's deeply measured these days, that is easier for clients to believe that you can automate, because it is so well known, um, that it's easy for it to optimize. And if it's easy for it to
Hmm.
optimize, you could train machines, you could bring it in house. That might not be the most creative work. That's also not the work that's potentially on the forefront, or maybe the work that I would argue the communities and the people in the world actually want to experience and engage
Yeah.
with, from a brand perspective. And
Yeah.
so my thesis is that I believe we're going to see a lot of the traditional persuasive work related to the data that you're talking about. It will be automated. The machines will get better at
Hmm.
basic digital advertising. It will go beyond this. The cost of production goes down. I think there are other opportunities that we can get really fluent or contextual in where we put our ads. If it costs nothing, I wrote something on the exchange a couple weeks ago where, hey, if it costs nothing to make an ad, let's make ads that are additive to the content versus
Yeah.
just interrupting and having a non sequitur. But
Right.
in general, I believe that the data is pointing to a safety zone for clients, which is, hey, we can cut our costs because our teams are smaller, our budgets are compressed, things are very competitive right now, and I can automate this. But that just becomes more and more transactional. And as we
Yeah.
all know, if you want to have a brand, there's more than a transaction to a brand. There's an emotional engagement, there's an attachment. People have to feel something about this beyond just what's been communicated to them. I would argue and posit that, by bringing people in and having them participate in one way or another, letting them share or co-create or engage, be a part of something, we will maintain that emotional connection. That is a real creative role, because it's humans finding ways to connect with humans while
Yeah.
the transactions kind of go in a different direction. So that's my personal belief of where
I
things are going to be, because we have 100
I agree with
years
you.
of advertising to train the machines on, and clients think they could do this themselves. And we also know that we all have different creative bars in this world,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I
yeah.
think that that's totally fine.
Yeah, of course it is.
Hmm.
My belief is, you know, armchair quarterbacking. And by the way, look, we are the hair twins. I think people are noticing that. So
I need some
just can't.
headphones.
I just can't.
Big
Yeah, I
ones.
just can't grow. I just can't grow a beard. It grows in circles. My fraternity brothers used to say it was like my face had crop circles on them, and they were from Nebraska, so that tracked. But I just feel as though that despite the fact that we have a couple of things. Number one, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should.
Mhm.
Secondly, human beings, I don't believe are wired to work at the same pace that a CPU does. And I think that there is, you know what I mean? I think
Is
that
it possible?
there's this thing of just because a CPU goes fast doesn't mean you're gonna have to try to go fast. And
Mhm,
I don't think we're built for that. And so
mhm.
to your point, yeah, there are certain things that can be optimized that can be changed. But if I'm a consumer, I think that you see these things, vinyl's coming back, the tactile or
Yeah.
analog things. Everyone treats that as such a curiosity when in point of fact, my belief is that we're simply not built to move at that pace, and this is where we should be anyway. I don't have a question, it's more an observation.
Yeah.
Your
I
thoughts?
I'm in complete agreement. What I spent quite a bit of last year doing was actually just studying the evolution of humans and
Right.
realizing, a very similar point that you're making yourself. We can't keep up. These things work 24 hours a day. They're continuously self-optimizing in the very near future when they become recursive. And I think that they're going to drive those transactions. It's going to be a race to hyper personalization. We've been in it for a while, and that's going to be okay. And ultimately, it will probably be an agent selling something to your agent and your agent asking you if you want it. And we probably can't stop that. And it will
Right.
offer some convenience and it will be very intoxicating and alluring in the near term for many clients who can actually drive, more transactions. But we're humans, we're emotional beings. That's what sets us apart.
Right.
And we like to kind of connect in different ways, and we do operate at a different pace. And so I think brands are going to have to find ways to balance this out. And
Yeah.
we've always responded to creativity and to storytelling. And yes, the
Yep.
machines might be able to tell great stories, but think of books, movies, tensions, all of this type stuff. There's a
Yep.
there's a human orchestrator at the top of a lot of this that I think is
Yep.
going to find ways to connect and to stay on the zeitgeist so that
Mhm.
things make sense. I don't know where it's going to net out. I do believe strongly that there will be a pull to automation. It will be, as I
Sure.
said, very intoxicating. People will want to go there, and it's going to look fantastic on spreadsheets. But if we only go there,
Oh,
we end up in a pure transactional world, and brands don't matter. And
right.
I don't think that we as a culture are ready for that yet in terms of how our economy works, how we've structured
Mhm.
things. So we have to continue as an industry to kind of push into things that will continue to be relevant, and be mindful that things that were just, like we've been handing over A/B testing to the machines for a while now. Like there are certain things that, like, okay, those might go that way, but we have so much other opportunity
Yeah.
based on some of the technologies coming and based on what we're learning about people, and we can measure everything now really quickly.
Yeah.
So we'll find what works.
So here's a point about automation,
Mhm.
and I agree that here's my point is, and this is simply from my experience. Being able to use the tools to be more effective, efficient, whatever E word
Mhm.
you want to use for it, allows me to weirdly be more human because it allows me to spend time with people. Point in fact is this
Mm.
show. We have been building models for the past 9, 10 months that are designed to find interesting stories based upon what our members are putting on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And this is how this show even got started because it flagged it. We then, the
Mhm.
humans, looked at it and said, yeah, you know what? That is a good idea. Let's pitch them a show. And
Yeah.
we pitched you guys. You said yes, and now we are having a human interaction. So
Yeah.
so I am optimistic about it based upon the use case and not based upon the generalization that tends to happen in our industry because Remember, CJ? Big data. Remember 2010? Oh my God, 2010. It was all big data. The year of mobile is coming. It's like, well, no shit. All right, but I want to get back to this before I start soapboxing here. So you've said that when creation becomes a commodity, and we've talked about this a little bit, curation and participation, again, we've touched on this a little bit, those become the values. So what does that mean in practice? And where do you see agencies still stuck in the commodity creation trap, taking out the element of the money part of it, like the racing to the bottom, right? So take that part out of it. But where do you see agencies getting stuck there?
I listen, one of the biggest challenges we'll have is over the past, 5 years, as the economy has tightened, timelines have compressed, we've really leaned into performance, and we have so many amazing tools that enable us to really map things out and show value to clients. And I think that's phenomenal. The reality, though, is that so much performance-oriented work is the work that is, the type work that machines could probably do better, because they're going to be optimizing, they will be recursive. So I think agencies that are completely reliant on traditional funnel-based, interruptive, persuasive-based advertising, that is the area that I think is most susceptible to, being optimized and automated. Will it be great? No, but eventually it's just going to be so personalized that it will know, Doug, that you like a certain color, and it will offer you a hat in that certain color that you like. And you'll say, oh, fantastic, I didn't have to do any work. And that's awesome. I think that, we've also seen agencies over the past 20 years do all sorts of creative stuff outside of the traditional realm of persuasive based interruptive advertising. And we call them all sorts of things, from social to activations to stunts. I'm rolling this under a big umbrella, saying all these things that we do that capture imagination, that get talked about, that people want to share. Perhaps they're remixing, perhaps they're giving you ideas, because these new generations have grown up in a world that's not one way. It's multidimensional. If you look at the new generation, so they're looking for, this is the world that they grew up in. We've been doing that kind of work, and we've all been seeing incredible results. And I'm arguing that work is really important, and agencies have to really lean into that. It in the traditional manner of showing work, right? Because I'm a strategist by trade. We have our strategic setup, and then we would just take agencies in general. Then you go to your manifesto. Then mostly because your CMOs were boomers or Xers, you're going to show them a bunch of scripts, and then maybe you're going to show them some outdoor boards, because those are the hardest things to actually articulate an idea in very short form. And then we show them lots of extensions. Click, click. At least my agencies always click, click, click. We can go here. We can go here. We can go here. We can go here. Most brands are kind of stopping before that, and that's all nice to have. What I'm saying is, wow, that stuff, when you look at those results, it's really important. The new generations, the big idea might be over here. This is the stuff that the machines are going to be. So I'm just encouraging agencies, lean into this, because this is that participatory work, and we've seen great results. We see increases. I just put a piece out today on the exchange where I was pulling some dollars, some data, and we see experiential going up, because people realize that the value of a human being a part of this is going to be more important, because 50% of the internet right now is bot traffic, right? 90% of humans want to read a review, but about 40% of reviews on the major platforms are bots. So we're being flooded by billions of bots and agents, and the value of human connection will increase. Will become increasingly important to brands. And we have ways that we communicate that we know that people are already being a part of it. And that is an amazing space for agencies to continue to push. And now that we have these creative tools to do this at scale and to help everybody get closer, for the social people to actually get closer to those ideas, instead of maybe routing them through another department and communicating with them, to actually connect different types of experiences to, say, a physical experience.
Right.
That's right there for us. And I was even inspired by an article I read, I think it was in Adweek or Ad Age, a couple of weeks ago, where they were noting that the activations at Coachella were superior to whatever they had done before. And they were now starting to rival, the acts, because they were so interesting. And to me, that's incredible for brands to actually give people not a pop-up, but a real experience. I think
Right.
our industry, we can push a lot farther into this, and people are going to want this.
I agree. No, I'm with you. I'm
Yeah.
absolutely with you. I'll ask you one last question. We'll do some
Yeah.
quick hit answers here in a second.
Yeah.
So let's get
Sure.
into building dumb things.
Mm-hmm.
We touched on it a little bit, but go a little bit deeper on it. And why is it the smartest move for agencies right now?
Well, I'm encouraging everyone to play, right?
Mhm.
The only way to address some of the fear that we have with the, frontier models that are here that I'm on every single day is we just have to play with them. And you just got to get in, and you just got to get over whatever that barrier that you might have. I was always a tech Luddite. And
Really?
Everybody's always made fun of me. Amir, who was going to be honest with me, he used to make fun of me. I could never get my phone to work. But I actually leaned in when I saw this stuff coming, and I've seen it coming for a while. I said, I've got to understand it. I'm leading a shop. I have clients. I have people that I consult with. So let me dive into this stuff. And so I've become a bit of an expert. I can build things. That essay was triggered earlier in the year when I was actually building like just some fun creative tools related to my approach to participation. And I was doing this while I was watching soccer games, and I couldn't believe it. And I knew this stuff was coming. We have a lab. We've been building things for a year, experimenting in all different ways, just to the side with AI. And it reminded me as I built this of how creative it felt for me as a strategist to actually build something that I thought I could jam with my creative partners.
Mhm.
And I started without putting any pressure on myself, and just trying to build something just to build it. And I thought, this is true creativity. And that's what these tools are going to enable a lot of people to do. And this is actually really valuable to our clients because they're not going to have time to do this themselves. Maybe they will, but they have a lot of other responsibilities, and they live in a bit of a different world. And so that whole essay was around something that I've observed because I've got gray hair and I've been around a little while.
Yeah, man.
Like I started, with the beginning of the internet, but the article was called The Third Wave of Wild. And so really what I've noted is that every time we have a new technology, there's this really awesome creative expansion, and then it compresses and it expands and it compresses. So when the internet came out, we had like MySpace, which was so creative. People were putting all people saying wacky stuff, right? We had this thing Zombo.com where it was like had this weird mysterious stuff. You could do anything at Zombo, but you couldn't do anything. There was a website with horses' legs that you could scroll forever and the legs never ended. People built wacky shit.
Right.
And then when the apps came out, people started building some wacky shit remember the Yo app that I just remember, I thought this thing was a joke where you could send Yo to people, but they actually raised VC money,
The same with like the flashlight apps.
Yes,
exactly. Think about the millions of dollars people made just to hack, like turning on the light on an iPhone. I'm like, that's amazing.
Correct. So each time we have one of these, there's like a wild time for just creatively minded people who just want to lean in to build something that is creatively expressive. And who the fuck knows? You just have to take the pressure off yourself to do it, but you're going to learn. And then big business comes in, and we go back to our typical system of we compress this, we optimize this, we build.
Good job, holdcos.
So here's where we are again with these new tools. So I'm just encouraging people, hey, at this moment of time, so many people are fearful about what it is. And I have so many people ask me, well, what should I build? Should I be building a business? Should I be thinking business? And I go, that's the wrong pressure to put on yourself. Just go in there and just start fucking around. And through that process, you will be inspired, and you're going to learn how the tools work. And eventually you could build something, or you could build even something for a client. And I'll give you a quick little story. Like we had a client, and I started building video games for the client. I had I took the game of Frogger just on the side, not even for the client. I was just inspired by the client, but I started building Frogger, and I had like a flaming chicken leg, and it was like trying to avoid things on the street. And I was sending it to some people at the agency, and people were playing it. It was kind of fun. And then I was in the office a few weeks later, and somebody was saying, hey, let's build some games for the client. Do you want to build the games for the client? I said, no, you guys should build the games for the client. Like, I don't need to do it. Like it's a part of the process right now. And then they looked over, and one of the guys in the creative department had built a game where he had his head, and his head was like a bowling ball or like some kind of rock. And it was a game almost like Mario Brothers, but his head was rolling and you had to bounce his head. And I said, he should build the game, right? Because he's playing with these things and who knows where we'll end up. But to me, that is something where that could be a loyalty program for the client. That could be something that would sit in their store. There's so many ways that we could add value, but it starts with building something dumb and then seeing where it goes and then say, oh, I could do something that's actually of value.
And that's my point about it. It might not be something, but it'll lead to something. Yeah. When you say soccer,
kills the fear too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When you say you were watching soccer games, what do you mean by that?
Oh, EPL games.
Who?
Oh, we're getting into this right now. Okay. Well, listen, I like all the big teams because I've come into this late in my life, but I'm a big Arsenal fan. So it's a big week for us. Yeah, it's a big week for us. Yeah. You too?
Yeah. Since 1990. So
there you go.
Yeah,
there you go.
Oh,
man, incredible.
Yeah.
I've got some friends who are buying tickets right now.
That's how far back I go. So yeah.
Are you headed to Hungary?
Thinking about it.
May 30th. Yeah.
Thinking about it.
Cool.
It. Yeah.
What a year.
I know. Well, I have to finish first. Real short answer on this one.
Sure.
What's one thing that'll be in Wired to participate that's going to make agency people uncomfortable?
Well, there are a few things. But what I do, actually, there's a whole chapter. It's chapter 2 in the book. And I actually go deep into the history of advertising and the history of persuasion. And I kind of map out how it's run its course. And I realize that that's going to be quite uncomfortable. Now, the other thing I note is that we've been in the business of selling things. And we tell ourselves these stories because we typically like to create things. So I just kind of note this too and say, that's why I prefer work that's much more of an invitation for people to come in versus putting something and trying to persuade them or influence them to do something that perhaps they wouldn't want to. And you could look at it in different ways. And creative has always been the glue that's held this together. But I realize that for many people that might be uncomfortable because I'm looking at it over a period of time and I'm tracing this and just realizing, hey, this was the best that we had when we had one-way communication. But the world is very, very different and we're hanging on to this. And perhaps we don't need to any longer because we're wired to actually experience things in totally different ways, which is chapter 1, when I go deep into the neuroscience of humans.
I like that. Okay, good. I look forward to the controversy. CJ, thank you so much for this. Really enjoyed the conversation. And more importantly, thank you so much for supporting this mission and of course our beloved gunners. Listen, man, keep on keeping on. Thanks for joining us.
I appreciate being here. Love the invite. Keep doing what you're doing. It's an amazing time for agencies. Everything is changing, and especially for indies. I've been in this business a really long time. It's incredible to see what keeps coming out. But I love what you're doing and helping all the indie agencies, get a bigger megaphone right now to tell the world what they're up to.
I appreciate that.